Hello and welcome to the Monarda Garden Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Garriak, and here we talk about the intersection between ecology, sustainability, and society. Today, we interviewed Kelly Mead of Kelly's Realm of Remedies. I think you're going to find this conversation inspirational if you're one of those people who has come up with an idea and perhaps you haven't brought it into fruition yet. Kelly brings that fire so that she provides the example for which we all can learn from. So enjoy this podcast. Welcome to the Monarda Gardens podcast. I'm here today with the one and only Kelly Mead. Kelly Mead is the one who runs the business Kelly's Realm of Remedies, where she teaches young ones, little ones, how to basically herbalism 101.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me today, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Is that a good summary of what it is you do at Kelly's Realm of Remedies?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Was my intentions of the business, was to teach children about herbalism and also lightly introduce little ones into the world of herbalism. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And what inspired you to begin this journey?
So when I was younger, I used to enjoy playing with sticks, plants, walnuts outside, and me and my cousins we'd call them potions, and we'd make mud patties, and I used to also talk to the plants when I was younger. So that was such a joyful part of my childhood, and I wanted to bring that back into my children's lives, but also other children's lives as well, and create a sense of a community with it.
So it sounds like you had not just an active imagination, but then also something beyond that, which is a deep connection with nature, with the plants. And the reason I see the value in that is because increasingly in today's world, what we find is an attachment of all people, not just kids, to devices, to the phones, the TV, and what this attachment is doing is it's separating us even more from the natural world. And so that's why I brought you on, Kelly, because I really see the value in what you're doing, because this to me is part of the transition that needs to happen, and that is happening, and that is going to happen, and you play a valuable role in that, and your business plays a valuable role in that.
Yeah, that's definitely the long-term goal here is, to be a part of this change that's going on in the world, but also I think in our communities, our towns, our families, our friendships that we all hold. There is definitely a shift happening, and I wanted to be a part of that. There was a calling for that. So this is the way that I'm going to go about it. I think homeschooling my children helped tremendously to step into this field. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Have you found, now that you've stepped into this field with a business, have you found that has helped at all to increase your connections and your sense of community with the other people who see this shift occurring?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of the people who I homeschool with, we're very like-minded, and of course when running a business it's all about networking, but this is on a more personal level, with friends that are becoming family, and having that is like the foundations of, I'm there for their community, and I have friends that teach me and my children things as well too. So it's really awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more about the specifics of what goes on in these classes? What's like a typical day like in one of them?
Yeah, so starting off with the smaller kids, ages 4 and up, it could be We do potion parties, and this is very innocent. We mix up tea blends, which I refer to as our potions for the children. I'll let them walk through my gardens, pick a bunch of flowers, and we'll put it in the teapot. And we'll go over what herbs can do for us, like just how it makes us feel emotionally. We don't dive deep into it because I want it to be light and fluffy and exciting for the children. And then I also will do an herbal craft with them. So it could be like a dream pillow, a canvas painting. We do we paint little pots and we put herbs in them, the seeds in, and then hopefully, they bring them home, take care of them, and they can watch them grow. We also eat delicious little crumpets and drink our teas, and fruits, of course, are on the table as well. And that is the potion party in a nutshell. And it's again a lot of fun. It's very innocent, but just enough to make a child's curiosity just spark to, wait, there's more to these plants. There's more to offer. And then I have the Intro to Herbalism class that I will be breaking up. I ran it as a camp this year, but come 2023 summer, I will be running them, the classes weekly. This way, one, we can let medicine sit longer. It's more accommodating for people who have to travel. So I'm listening to, my friends and family and their input, and that's what I want to make them comfortable. And I also want to bring in as many children as I can. So holding that class once a week. This class is more in depth. It's for children 8 and up. And we will go over basic botany, plant life. Then we'll dive into the plants' medicine, how they make us feel, and then also energetically how it makes us feel, like warm or cold, not just our emotions, like on an energetic level. We also do sampling activities, which is really important. It's communicating with the plant kingdom. It's letting a child's imagination be free. And there's no boundaries, there's no walls on that, just teaching the children how to silent their mind, almost like a form of meditation. Sit with the plant, get to know it, ask it questions, and just listen to what the plant has to say. It might not always be words. It could be colors or a smell or some way they feel. Communication doesn't always have to be verbal.
I see.
Yeah,
okay.
And we make tons of medicine in that class. It's a lot of medicine the kids get to take home.
Wow. That's a lot. So to summarize, there's generally 2 classes that I'm hearing. There's the potion party, and then there's the herbal workshops. The potion party is like your light and fluffy sort of experience where you're really inspiring the kids, right? To kind of to just love it. Here's the beauty of it. Here's the fun in it. Here's why to love it. Right? And then the other class that you do sounds like it's more like the nitty-gritty class, where you, for students who got inspired potentially from the potion party and who really want to learn more and want to dive deeper into it, they have the opportunity. And it sounds like within the class there's a holistic mindset where you're teaching all of the aspects, both the science and the energetics. Not the energetics aren't scientific, but you get what I mean. Yeah. And then
tangible, intangible,
Yeah,
goes
that's
into
it.
that.
That's the phrase. Thank you. And then, but I'm really enthralled by this meditation that you're saying that you what did you call it? Sampling. Yeah. And so in what I'm curious about sampling is that for me, I have to get myself in the right state of mind in order to connect with a plant that deeply. If I just go up to a tree after, a board meeting, and then just say, hi, hello, how are you, I'm not going to get anything back. But if there's, a certain degree of magic swirling in the air, and, and I'm vibing with the tree, then I can get there. And do you find that kids take to that vibing easier than adults, or maybe do you do anything in particular to get them in that state? Does the meditation help them get in that state?
So I actually, when I started taking herbalism classes 2 years ago, now I think maybe it's a year and a half ago, when I first started learning about communicating with plants, like my initial thought was like, okay, what did I get myself into? This is whack. Like I was like, come on, like this might be too far, but then I remembered a moment in my childhood, and my first friend was a tree, and it sounds sad at first. There was a long time where I felt sorry for myself that like my first friend was a tree, but I found peace in this tree. I found comfort. I'd come home every day and talk to it. I'd lay on its branches. And then I realized, because I had that moment when I was a child, I was like, this is possible. I've had this before. I just thought it was because I was a child. But when I'm teaching my class, children, they're just so accepting and loving and open-minded, and they don't question the details. They just are so quick to believe without questioning the science or the evidence behind it. They're just like, okay, and I do an activity with them, gets them calm, and then they pick a plant out in the yard, and I just sit there and I'll do an example myself, and then they kind of just copy me. Getting a child into that state of mind is a lot easier than an adult. Absolutely. After we were done, I had parents in the class saying, we never thought we'd be the people talking to plants, yet here we are, and this is so beautiful. And parents or just adults in general, it is difficult to get into that meditative state and shut off your brain. And I'm right now reading a lot about frequencies and vibrations, and when you're an adult, there's so much more going on in our brains. Think of it as like a buzzing highway. Like there are so many things that we're doing, whereas a child, life's more simpler. They are not picking up on the frequencies that us adults do of work, the jobs, the money, the house, the home, the taking care of the kids, or where am I going next? Kids are just in the moment, and they're absorbing, whether it's the color of the plant or the smell that they're smelling. It's just, life is so much simpler for them.
And that helps them
Yeah.
to get into that state.
Yeah.
Because to an extent, they are closer to that state, maybe.
Yeah,
in their
absolutely.
everyday being.
Yeah.
Wow.
They are.
So you had your first friendship was with a tree. Do you remember what type of tree it was?
Gosh, I wish I could go back in time. I know, I see it in my head. Maybe one day when I come across it, I'll be able to, I want to say, honestly, I want to say it was a walnut tree, because my dad ended up cutting it down, and I think he was upset because it just kept destroying the yard, the house. I could ask my dad. I know he knows exactly what tree it was, because I was very upset when it got cut down. But that's a good question. I'll have to dive into that.
That's
I am very curious to know.
Yeah, me too, because that can say a lot about a person.
Yeah.
Because, even just the difference between, say, an oak and a maple. Yeah. An oak has this, and it has to do with its branching structure. The oaks, like many other trees, have an opposite arrangement of buds. And what that leads to is a much more craggy sort of, lots of different, I guess the opposite of graceful would be rigid sort of structure.
Yeah.
Whereas a maple, it has not, so oak is alternate, and then maple is an opposite arrangement. And this opposite arrangement of buds leads to such a graceful structure from a maple.
Yeah.
And so, I think that by what tree calls to you, you can see a lot about a person for a lot of different reasons. Like willow, it not only is graceful, but then the willow bark is also a remedy for, pain, and that's where aspirin comes from, synthesized from. There's a lot of things you can learn about what trees. So I'd be really curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you started with this connection, and that was your affirmation that talking to plants not only can happen, but also has some deep, significant value. so that's how you were able to suspend belief. And I want to focus on suspending belief for just a minute, because the reason I think people listening could receive value from this idea is because we're not telling you, like, let's say you're a scientific mind and you don't believe in these things, which, I'm sure somebody listening might be like that. So we're not telling you have to believe us or else, or we're not being forceful with this. What we're doing is we're saying, all you have to do is suspend belief. You don't know how? Watch a movie. If you were watching that movie and you were pointing out everything that's impossible about that movie, then you would have a bad experience of watching the movie, because it wouldn't even be fun. But if you get enraptured by that movie and you feel that connection, even if things happen that obviously aren't actually physically possible, and you still allow yourself to get swept away by it, you have suspended belief, and it led to a positive experience. And so all we're doing is say, just like you're watching a movie, suspend belief. Go in, see if you can go into a state of meditation and start seeing if you can communicate with this tree, assuming that you can. Afterwards, you can reflect with your scientific mind again. But what we're saying here, at least what I'm saying, I don't want to put words in Kelly's mouth, but what I'm saying here is that if you suspend belief, then you can see if the evidence arises throughout the experience for you to believe. So all you got to do is suspend belief a time or two, and then see for yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you agree with that?
No, I 100% agree with that. And even still, I will admit, there are times where, over the last year and a half, 2 years, there have been times where, I question sometimes, like myself, or was that real, or this and that? But things just start to come up. If you just open your mind and heart to things, you really start to see things unfold. And it's just confirmation after confirmation of, continue to, believe, or just be open to it. And, I'm going to use a good example right now when we're talking about speaking to plants, because I was hesitant, until one of my first activities in my classes that I attended school at. There was a bunch of plants out, and you had to go around and kind of guess what each plant was and smell it and write down maybe the energetics or actions of that plant. And there was a plant that I really had no idea what it was. And my teacher said, just quiet and listen to it. And I kept saying, I'm hearing, I heard the sound, and then I ended up saying, I think it was ashwagandha, which I've never been able to smell or touch in person. I've never seen it. It's a root. And I did it 3 other times, and I actually got every single plant right. And I swear to you, I had no idea what these plants were. And it was just mind-blowing to me that I was able to just sit there and listen to that, and then have my teacher tell me, you're right, And luckily, I didn't get all of the whole activity right, but some of them I was able to get into that state.
Wow, that's great. It reminds me that we all have superpowers.
Yeah.
And but we don't receive them by force. We receive them by sort of softening into the core of who we are, and then they come.
Yeah.
And that was a shining example of that. So the tree, maple or oak or whatever it was,
I wish I knew what it was.
that was your friend, that you spoke with, that you talked to, and was dear to you, that gave you this affirmation that this is possible, was the jump off point from which you were able to experience and believe, and then from there you're allowing for that experience for the kids through creating this sort of system, this sort of practice that they can tap into.
Yeah.
And the kids take to it even easier than adults do, and that is so hopeful for me. Because, there's to an extent, there's a lot of despair going on about children in the world today. I mean, you hear it often, like, oh, the screens are ruining these kids, or like, kids don't go outside anymore. But we're seeing here that once given the opportunity, they immediately go back to and revert back to what many would say the way it ought to be for kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Great. So, what has been your greatest challenge with this business?
The business aspect of it, the legality, the social networking. I am not big into social media. I actually had to create my Facebook account specifically for this. It's not that I like to keep my life private, I just sometimes I don't understand the whole idea behind the social media. It's very, very bizarre, but nowadays it's the way to self-promote, to find your community, your tribe. And I had to get back on Facebook because that's where the moms are at. And that is where they are at, and that, that's where the children are going to be. And, I have found a good community of people. And I hope to offer my classes during the summer, so that in hopes that I can not only teach homeschooling children, but also the children who are in public schooling. Also, the weather obviously is great during the summer, but the business aspect of it all, staying up to date on posts, getting the website going, it was so much fun, but it was also one of the biggest challenges and hurdles that I had to get over, and I did it, and I feel like that's past me, and now I can kind of just enjoy the teachings of children and make it as simple as possible and still personal and small,
Yeah. So you got over that hurdle.
Yeah.
You made it.
Yeah, I
Kudos.
did. It was hard. It was.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah.
So, in this world where we want to manifest our dreams and we look at, how do I bring about a world that's even more beautiful, that has even more connection with nature, with everything. How do I so first step, desire, I want this. Yes, check. Next step, how do I do it? That's where the rubber hits the road, and there's a lot of everybody at this step. Everybody can dream. A lot of people can dream, but then going to actually doing, that's one reason I really admire you, Kelly, because you got a certain tenacity about you to, come up with this dream and make it happen relatively quickly. When did you first come up with this idea, and how long did it take from idea to completed manifestation?
Oh, I love this. So honestly, I'm going to say from the very beginning, it happened of October of 2021. It was an idea that I had, and I typed up a couple lessons. I really just I wasn't even the business idea of it just yet. It was, I just want to teach kids, or even my kids, actually put together a couple lessons, see what happens. And then fast forward to February 2022, I woke up and I had terrible vertigo, but vertigo on steroids. I felt like I was going to spin off the earth. It was the most terrible thing I've ever experienced in my life. And that right there, that moment right there, and it continued, and I just started feeling better 2 weeks ago. I went to a lot of doctors in the Western medical field. I talked to a lot of spiritual people. Got a lot of blood work done, did a lot of acupuncture, did a lot of Reiki, and the Western medical field wasn't really able to find something other than a tiny herniated disc, which I actually just found out about last week, and I have stuff on my a little blog on my website that kind of goes into details about this. But at the end of the day, I think what I was going through, now looking back, was a spiritual awakening. I can 100% say that now and be confident about it. Is I think that this happened for a reason. If this didn't happen to me, I don't know if I would have as quickly manifested this as I did, because I was scared. They thought maybe a brain tumor, low spinal fluid. And I started to realize I don't know what I have to leave behind for my children. And I wanted to leave this footprint behind for them. And I want them to see me in a light that Mom had an idea, she jumped, she did it, and she was just happy. It wasn't about the money or the glory, or it was just doing something that I actually really just wanted to try and do and say that I gave it my all. And when I was in these moments of, I say, my awakening over the last 5 months, it was like I was kicked into overdrive, and I did the whole business side of everything somehow. It's crazy looking back that I did it all. And I still can't believe that what I was going through, and I still managed to get through it all. But manifestation is everything. And I thought that my time was limited. I was like, okay, we're not all going to live forever. Now my time's even shorter than I thought. I'm not done yet here. I haven't done what I wanted to do yet. So, I think just manifesting it and going through that awakening and giving it my all, because at the end of the day, no one wants to fail. I can easily go out, try a job, get fired. It's a little shameful, but it's there's other jobs out there. But when you have your own idea, that's your idea. You can't fail at that. And no one wants to be embarrassed to be oh, I tried. For me personally, I am, actually, it is me. I get so nervous I'd rather not try anything than to try and fail. I don't like failing. And I will only do something if I know that I'm going to succeed. And a lot of the things I do because I know that I am capable of a lot of things. I don't know if that comes from me being a cheerleader starting at a very young age and pushing myself physically further than I could even imagine, mentally. It was, maybe that was the driving force of how I was able to push through mentally and physically. But I didn't know if this was going to work. I just knew I wanted to try it. And then once the pedals started going, I started to realize, oh no, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm not going to fail at it. And I just kept manifesting and visioning myself in my backyard with the children around me and teaching them. I actually would close my eyes and envision it. And every day I got closer and closer and closer, until that day came. And I'll tell you, that first day of Herbal Camp, my dizziness started going away.
Wow.
I'm not lying about that. That's true.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for that story. Wow. It's what you've accomplished is truly impressive.
Thank you.
And it seems that it's a question of where does that internal flame burn from? What is the fuel that burns that flame? And what was the fan that, made it bigger? And it seems to me that there was a question and a highlight of your own mortality, and it was a question of legacy.
Yeah.
And a question of, what is it that I want to be remembered for? And it sounds to me like you answered that question as you want to be known as somebody who gave it her all, doing something that she loved, but also doing something that was deeply in contribution to something that was greater than herself.
Yeah.
And that's something that now, thank God, you're still with us.
Yeah.
And now you can be known for that while you're living.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. It was very satisfying. Yeah, that was a big moment too. Finding out, my MRIs were clear, and I was like, okay, now it's just a matter of getting better, and now I get to continue to live on, and it's great. I love it. It's been a crazy road, but it's been awesome.
Wow. Yeah, many people, when faced with potential life-threatening diseases, a common, maybe not, but some people might go into despair. Some people might go into depression.
Yeah.
Some people might lose their ability to act. But for you, the opposite reaction occurred. I need to act. Like, this is now urgent.
Yeah.
That I must do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time is limited. When it's crazy because you think that you have more time, and then when I was really actually faced with the unknown diagnosis, and there was this period of unknown, it scared me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is scary.
Yeah.
But your story is inspirational.
Thank you.
It makes me feel like, what can I do?
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready to do my next thing
Dive
now,
in.
too.
Go. Let's go do some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
I feel a little fire going.
Go on an adventure, create a project, do everything you love.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Great. And so, I'm curious about how your relationship with the earth, perhaps if whether or not it shifted or deepened or anything through this course, or even just through the past year that you've been studying and learning. I know we talked about it a bit with the tree, but we didn't talk about it specifically. And then also the kids, and I'm wondering if you have experienced the kids having a deeper relationship with the earth and the plants and everything.
Yeah, I kind of went back to my roots in a sense. I always was this person up until about 16 years old, and then I think public schooling, the social aspect of it all, you get caught up in the games, the dating, the partying, and I kind of lost my way for a little while. But it was always there, never fully disappeared. It was always there. And when I came back into this and started went back to school for herbalism myself, I realized how different I always have been. And I found this group of misfits in such a good way. I say that as a compliment, and strange, unique people. I was like, oh wow, where were these people when I was going to high school? These people did not exist. But I definitely, I fit right in. I fit right into nature. I fit right into the community of it all. And then being around those people, doing this alone is, I don't think, an option for anybody. When you talk about nature, we're all connected. Everything is a frequency, a vibration. We are all connected in some way, and in nature more than anywhere, So you want to have a tribe of people around you to be experiencing the things that you're experiencing for the first time, because it just heightens that feeling. But for my children, gosh, it's hard to say. They do love it. My oldest is very much like me. She's just all about it. My son, he is more of a literal, scientific, he wants the evidence kind of kid. That's the way his brain works. Sometimes it's I say he's got that engineer brain, So I was nervous about teaching him, but he was able, it ended up working out for him. The first moment where it really clicked for him was when he was out doing the sampling activity in the front yard. We did a test run before we did our actual camp open to the public. And he was so happy. He's like, I spoke to the plants, and he sat out there for 45 minutes just in this peaceful state of just bliss and talking to the plants and making friends. And that made me really happy, because that tells me that anybody has the capability to do this. Everyone can do this. And then my youngest one, she's my little wild child, her and Ollie. They're buddies. And they love being outside. I think she's so young that she just likes picking the flowers and smelling them or eating them and climbing up trees and jumping in mud puddles and rivers. She's just born to be wild. She really, really is.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Wow.
they take well to it. We all do. I think everyone has the potential to find their place in nature. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I'm thinking about over time right now. I'm thinking about your kids over time, my kids over time, because it's so like you can 5 years for a child is an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it's like, oh, maybe I got a few more wrinkles, maybe I learned some things, but for a kid, it's a whole lifetime. And I'm curious about where you see Kelly's Realm of Remedies, say, in 5 years. Because Kelly's Realm of Remedies, if I may, might be at its, like, perhaps just beyond its infancy stage. Maybe it's taking its first steps, But during the first 5 years of business, that's, the amount of growth that can occur can be represented by the amount of growth that occurs between the ages of 1 and 6, which is going from just hardly walking to a miniature version of a full-fledged adult human being. So I'm curious, where do you see Kelly's Realm of Remedies in 5 years?
Yeah, so I definitely just think about, where I'm at right now with my children and the children that have attended my classes, and I try and picture them every year, 5 years, every year. Every year I hope to add something to my business, a form of education or a class or a camp. And what I plan to do is shut down during the winter. And when I say shut down, I mean like me personally, go in, hydrate, educate myself, take classes, do whatever I can do as far as education wise, and then by spring be able to turn that around and teach that to the children. And every year I want to be able to go deeper and deeper and deeper into nature. And there's such a huge umbrella to herbalism. It's not just about plants. There is so much that branches off of that too. And it's a ripple effect, and it opens up so much opportunity for these kids to 5 years, Mila's 10, so she'll be 15, almost 16 years old. And I try and think what I can do for her to prepare her to take even deeper classes, which if she decides to go to a community college or a technical school or the school that I go and learn my stuff, maybe I could push the boundaries of learning herbalism and, allow them to... I want to be the stepping stone for these kids. I want them to learn the basics, dive in a little deep with me, and then also have the choice to, go to another school if they choose to. One of the girls that attended my camp wants to be a veterinarian, but like a holistic veterinarian with natural medicines. Yeah. How cool is that?
Yeah.
That she's, 8 years old and learning plant medicine right now. She is going to have such a head start compared to the children who are getting out of high school at 17, 18 years old. Yeah. Like, she's going to have years on them of such abundant of knowledge just from coming to my classes every summer. And then, like I said, hopefully she can continue her education wherever that may be, that I can prepare her for that, you know.
I would say that this little girl who took to the class so well and feels inspired to do holistic veterinary medicine, she's going to come away not just with a bunch of knowledge, which of course she is, but also there's going to be a perspective. And this perspective is potentially the missing ingredient, the key that unlocks a life of purpose a life filled with happiness and a life filled with contribution. And I do think that your classes can help provide that. And that's why I think your classes are such a great service to everybody. Is there anything else that you feel inspired to talk about now before we wrap things up?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to talk about maybe, I said that herbalism is a big umbrella worth of different subjects and topics and whatnot. This winter I plan to be, actually not even, I start my Reiki classes in 3 weeks, and I'm going to get my master's in Reiki hopefully by the end of fall, and somehow turn that into a class for the children next fall. I'm already working on my level 2 herbalism for next July. There's so much that I am working on. I hope to, there's just so many branches, but this is just the beginning for me. And I'll take it step by step, but I'm not going to stop. I'm loving what I'm doing. And yeah, I think every way that I can offer something to these kids, it's going to change the future.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if people want to get in touch with you, I think you mentioned that there's a blog on your website. Is that true?
There is. The blog is not just about herbal medicine. I will write about different plant medicines, but I also talk about, personal stuff on there so people can get to know me personally. And I think by putting my experiences out into the public, it allows me to find people who can relate to me, and in that I can find people add to our community of like-mindedness. My website is realmofremedies.com. There's events tab, there's a for parents tab, there's you can sign up for classes under events. All the information on every class is under programs, my blog, and then I also have, of course, the Facebook page, Kelly's Realm of Remedies. I also have the Instagram page. The Facebook page is absolutely the first way to stay up to date with any upcoming events I just put out for next year. I announce the dates so that parents can set those dates aside or hold those dates so that maybe they can allow their children to join in. Also, that's another thing. Parents are strongly recommended to join their children in these classes, but they are not obligated. But it is such a beautiful thing to watch the parent and child bond over plant medicine. It's really, really, really beautiful. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks so much for spending this time with me. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people who receive a lot of value and out of this conversation. I give you my prayers.
Thank you.
For well wishes.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for the Monarda Garden podcast. I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me with this powerful conversation with Kelly Mead. Please remember to subscribe so that you get notified when we put out podcasts in the future. This is Adam Garriak signing off from the Monarda Gardens podcast.